General Buckner came on the intercom to all the troops. Men were about ready to invade the island of Okinawa. He said, I want you to know you're not only fighting for your country, but you're fighting for your loved ones back home. And that really comforted me because I told some of my friends, I said, I think I'll be the first one killed. It was on a Sunday afternoon, about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, walking down the main street in the hometown, and a car came by, the radio was blasting, "We're at war." The chap said, "We're in Pearl Harbor." I was 15 years old at that time. When I heard all the casualties at Pearl Harbor, made me want to go into war.
Shortly after graduating high school, Ted Estridge was drafted into the United States Marines. The next few months saw him going through basic training and joining up with the 1st Marine Division.
They sent me to San Diego, California. I went through boot camp there. Then we went to Camp Pendleton. That's where we had advanced training. The 1st Marine Division was in Puvu, Solomon Islands. They just finished a campaign in Peleliu.
Prior to Ted's arrival, the 1st Marine Division had already endured what was to them hell on earth, seeing intense combat at Guadalcanal, New Britain, and Peleliu. Each campaign dragged on far longer than anticipated, costing the 1st Division nearly 10,000 casualties. But now, with Ted among their ranks, the next objective would be the division's deadliest campaign yet.
First day of April Fool's Day. They started early in the morning, battleships shelling the island. Then General Buckner, he came on the intercom to all the troops. Men were about ready to invade the island of Okinawa. He said, I want you to know you're not only fighting for your country, but you're fighting for your loved ones back home. And that really comforted me because I told some of my friends, I said, I think I'll be the first one killed. When we landed, the Army went south and the Marines went north. I tell you, war is a terrible thing. Kill or be killed. The Japanese had the whole island mapped out. They had tunnels where they could escape, go back to the next hill. Artillery. They knew where to place the artillery at. You hear the shells coming screaming, bursting, debris would fall all over you. General Buckner, he was killed in the Battle of Okinawa.
On the 18th of June, as Lieutenant General Simon Buckner observed the battle from a few hundred yards behind the front lines, he was hit by shrapnel from a Japanese artillery shell. This is the last known photo of the general, taken only moments before his death. For the 1st Marine Division, the Battle of Okinawa was a painstaking process of eliminating an enemy who was firmly entrenched in a series of heavily fortified hills. Casualties continued to mount, and Ted would be one of them.
We were taking a hill. We were 2/3 of the way up the hill, and the runaround came in. Hit me right in the shoulder. It's almost like a sledgehammer. And I fell down to the ground, and my buddy in front of me, Gordon Larson, the same shell got me. He had a piece of shrapnel came underneath his nose, came out the back of his head, killed him instantly. And that could have been me. Why me, Lord? That's what I thought. Then my buddy helped me pick me up, and we went on back to where we embarked from. At that time, there was all wounded laying all over the place. Then the next morning, the hospital ship came in, close to shore as it could get. They had a cable run from the land to the hospital ship, and they put me on snapped me on that cable. That afternoon, there was a nurse over the hospital ship window, and she screamed, "Oh, he's going to hit us." It's a suicide plane. I don't know his aim at us now, but a destroyer anchored next to the hospital ship and hit the destroyer. Immediately, they started bringing in sailors, burned terribly. In fact, I was in the middle of the bunk, had a sailor at my foot, one in the foot. Both of them died that night. Every morning they'd have a burial service on the hospital ship. When I was able to walk, I went and watched how they buried your dead. They put an American flag over the body. They had a slide go down right into the ocean. You know, the Bible says in the last resurrection, the seas will give up the dead. There's been thousands buried at sea.
After nearly 3 months of gruesome combat, the Battle of Okinawa came to a close. With the island secure, the United States military now had a position from which they could launch a mainland attack on Japan. But the attack would never come. In August of 1945, 2 atomic bombs were dropped on the Japanese mainland.
When they bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki, well, that was the beginning of the end. There have been millions killed if we had invaded Japan. I'm just thankful we didn't have to. Whenever I came back, I had points to get discharged, and they took me to Great Lakes, Illinois. And I took a train from Chicago to Indianapolis, then rode a bus into WWll, Indiana. When I arrived there, the streets were all empty. And the service station was open, and I went in there, and one of my buddies before the war, I said, "Could you take me out to my house?" So he drove out from my father's house, blew the horn. My mother came to the door and said, "Who is it?" I said, "You don't know, do you?" She screamed, said, "It's Theo." They always called me Theo. And she ran out there and folded her arms around me. That was the happiest moment of my life. In November 1958, the Lord called me into ministry. Called me to go back to Okinawa as a missionary. Now, I'll tell you, I hated Okinawa, hated the Japanese people at the time. till the Lord saved me. And he gave me a love for the Japanese people and Okinawans. I took my family, we spent 15 years on Okinawa as a missionary.
Several years after the war's end, Ted found himself returning to Okinawa, this time with a different mission. The very place where he had seen the worst of mankind was now his home, and the people he had once considered enemies now were like family. Ted's new journey led him back to the very hill on Okinawa where he had been wounded.
I could almost go to the exact spot. I got on my knees and I said, "Oh God, I thank you, sparing my life right here." I say, "Why me, Lord?" Gordon Larson couldn't have family, a wife, children or grandchildren. About 3 weeks ago, my granddaughter came to visit from North Carolina. And she put a little 9-month-old great-grandson in my arms. Gordon, you couldn't experience that. I know this. Anybody that's been in combat, hand-to-hand fighting, it's just by the grace of God we made it. The real heroes are those that gave their life for their country.
Hi everyone, I'm Josh from Memoirs of World War II, and I just want to say thank you so much for watching this episode. Our goal is to capture as many World War II veteran stories as we can from all over the world, but we can't do it alone. If you'd like to help us in this mission, consider supporting us through Patreon, and check out our website in the links below for more information. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel and click the notification bell so you don't miss a single episode. We want to say thank you for your support, and thanks for watching.